Alright guys, Scott here from the Mental Metal channel and mentalmetaldetecting.com, and today we're going to do a quick video on the Manticore beach settings. That would be the Minelab Manticore beach settings. I did a video last year on these settings. I never did a written article on my website, so we're going to change that. I'll do something written over there as well. But today we're going to go over the settings. I'm putting all of them up front in the video, and then I'll just add in the video at the end that I did last year. So nothing really changes here, just changing the format a little bit. I've been getting a lot of good feedback about the format and putting these settings up front. A lot of people like that, so we're doing that to this video. So we're going to get right into it. So we're going to go over here and we're going to do the compatibility slide. And basically, if you have the version 6.20.0-3.71, this will work fine for you. There really is only one update that I'm aware of that's out there on their website, so that's the one, 6.20.0-3.71. So if you want to go over there, there's the link for you. You can get that download or get that update for the Manticore, and this should work just fine for you. All right, basic settings. So what I like to do is I like to search in beach low conductors. Now I will mention at the end of these slides, I also set up a soft key where I use my favorite key in the lower right-hand corner, and I toggle between beach low conductors and surf and seawater. That's only if I'm going to be detecting in the water and the coil starts making some noise. I'll switch over to surf and seawater, and that fixes it. Um, so that's something I'll mention here, but I'll also mention it on the other end of the slides. Now, ground balance. You can ground balance if you choose, but I like to use tracking. It is not going to affect you. It actually will help you, I think, with some of the salt mineralization and things changing on the beach. Tracking is not a bad thing to use. In the past, there was this belief that if you use tracking, it would take too much processing time and you would miss a target if you swung over it and it was middle of adjusting its ground balancing. It's no longer the case anymore. Tracking's fine. Recovery speed, I tend to use no more than 4 to 5. I don't think you need any more than that. The beaches that I've been going to are not that really trashy. So if you need to bump it up if you're in a trashy area, do so. But I don't think you need to. I think 4 or 5 is plenty for the beach. Now I typically run sensitivity from 19 to 20. I don't really tend to go too much higher than that because it does tend to get a little chatty. But I found that using 19 to 20, even 18, you're not going to lose too much depth. All right, so don't freak out if you get that low. Disc pattern. So I use all metal mode, so I don't really this doesn't really apply here. So don't sweat that. If you want to do a disc pattern, it's up to you. But on the beach, you kind of want to do it all. So hear it all. So I would leave all metal mode on. Ferris limits. Now I do use a 5 upper and a 0 lower on that. But like I said, I'm in all metal mode, so mm, not really going to matter too much. Your frequency equals multi IQ. Obviously, you want to be in multi IQ. And your Ferris volume, um, it's really your preference, but I use 13. Um, now that I have the new headphones, the Killer Bee headphones for the Manticore, I used to run my volume, Ferris volume at 18 because I really could hear it. Now I've bumped it way down a little bit. I probably would even go lower than that, probably maybe 8. But I tend to stay around 13. But the Killer Bee headphones are really nice, and so they cancel out a lot of the noise around you. So you can get away with using a lesser volume for Ferris. But you may not want to hear any of the Ferris, so you can. It's really your preference. So that's it. I just mentioned it here. Now going into your audio setup, this is what I do a little different. Your target tone setup, I use a 2 region all tones. Now I used to use just a 2 tone. I'm starting to really like the region all tones, and so my setup is tone one. It's like 2 tone breaks. The first tone break, tone one, is from 0 to 1. It's a very small one, and tone two is equal to 2 to 99. So your tone 1 pitch, I've dropped it down to 15, and your tone 2 pitch, I bump it all the way up to 30. starting at number 2, your tone break at the ID number 2, I set it for 30, and when you get all the way up to 99, it goes higher, so it's 50. It's the highest you can go. So in between there, it can ring up between 30 and 50. So depending, like let's say you hit a target that's 45, it's going to be a nice mid-tone for you. If you get all the way up to like 93 or something like that, you're really going to get a nice sweet high tone out of it. So that's why you do that. For the between the 2 and 99, you set it at 30 and 50, so it just adjusts in between for you. You'll see it on scale. It actually has a diagonal line. It goes up, so you'll kind of understand it. And in the video, I actually show it. Um, and then your tone 1 volume is 25, and your tone 2 volume is 25. I keep the volume up on both tone breaks. Now I use an audio profile of medium. I just like medium. And your audio theme, I tend to use normal or enhanced. I really like enhanced right now, but it's really up to you. I think you can use any theme you choose, but I think I wouldn't go anything beyond normal or enhanced. And like I said earlier, when in doubt, dig it out. Now, for your general settings, the threshold I typically use is 8. You don't have to use a threshold, but I kind of like to hear a threshold on the beach just to hear my machine working. Sometimes you'll go between a lot of targets, long time spans between targets, and at least you can hear your machine humming along. um, Ferris indication, the red numbers, I turn those on. All right, you got to be in all metal mode, but I turn them on for that reason, so I can see the iron when it does come across some mixture of iron targets. Now for underwater boost, I do say see below here. I turn it on only if I'm using the Minelab waterproof headphones. If you're not, don't recommend it. It's going to blow you out of the water as far as sound goes. So when you use the Minelab waterproof headphones, the sound becomes very, very muffled and dull. You need the boost if you're using those headphones. Trust me, you want the boost, and it actually makes a big difference. Now, I mentioned earlier in the slides that I do use a soft key. This is from switching between surf and seawater and beach low conductors. So I'll mention that again. I think that's a very wise thing to do because with one click of the button, you can be in surf and seawater set up just like you were with beach low conductors. Settings are pretty much the same. And that way, when your coil starts hitting the water and gets a real noisy and stuff, just hit one button and all that goes away. So that's how I have it set up. And the last steps is ground balance. Now this is optional. If you're not using tracking, you may want to try to ground balance and do a noise cancel. And that is it, folks. Now I'm going to play the video for you that I did last year. But now you have all the settings up front, and now you can just see me walk through them in the video for you. So if you have any questions, shoot me a comment. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the other side. See ya.
Hey guys, Scott here for the Mental Metal channel and mentalmetaldetecting.com. I got Rocky in the house too. You might hear some heavy panting or breathing in the background. That is not me, that is my dog Rocky. We were just out playing ball, so he is a little tired out and will probably let me know or let you know. Hey, anyway, I did a short quick tip video on this using a soft key to switch between beach low conductors and beach surf and seawater to kind of show you a quick way of kind of switching off between the two programs uh, to get rid of a lot of that noise or that chatter when you hit the surf or seawater, when the waves, when your coil is submerged underwater. It can tend to get noisy if you leave it in beach low conductors, and a lot of people get frustrated with that. But if you switch over to surf and seawater, it quiets the machine down quite a bit. You still have the beach, or you still have the waves hitting the coil that will give you a little bit of chatter, but once the coil's under the water, it tends to get really, really quiet. What I want to do today is just kind of walk you through my settings for the beach low conductors. This is what I use this year. I've seen a lot of other people out there using something similar to this. I've just a couple little differences, not much. I think everybody has pretty much figured out how to use the Manticore on the beach now. So this video is all really for some of you out there who are new to beach hunting, who got the Manticore and just really aren't sure how to use it. The Beach Load Conductors program is probably the best program to find gold on the beach. I have had great success with this machine on the beach. Matter of fact, the last 2 gold rings I've found were with this machine, and I've used both the Deus and the Manticore, my 2 go-to machines. I really like both machines, but I do favor on the beach. I do favor the Manticore for beach hunting. So that's just my opinion, my preference. It doesn't mean the Deus isn't a great machine. I found several rings with the Deus as well, so it's still a great machine on the beach as well. And I actually think the Deus is super deep compared to some of these other machines. I think it actually is a little bit deeper than the Manticore as far as depth goes. I've dug some crazy holes with the Deus too, 4 or 5 scoops out of a hole before I found the target. So it happens to me a lot when I use the Deus. It wears me out. But I have the same problem with the Manticore, but just not as much. That's why I think it's a little bit deeper as far as the Deus 2 goes. But for finding gold, the Manticore is the king, in my opinion. So, or queen, if you choose to go queen. But my beach settings, I see a lot of videos out there. They're very, very similar now. So there really isn't much to really kind of harp on either way. You know, people will have a little bit of a nuance different here and there, but not much compared to what most people are using on the beach now. And I'm just going to walk you through my settings in case you're curious on how I set my machine up for the beach. Like I said, I do have a soft key set to switch over between beach low conductors and beach surf and seawater when I do get into the surf line and get under the water. So just you know, I'll show you how I do that. But let's just go over the settings real quick. Beach low conductors. This is my favorite program to use on the wet sand. I will not use anything but this, honestly. Obviously, noise cancel, ground balance. Now, one of the things you can do on the beach that does help, and it doesn't hinder the machine that I found, is you can actually turn on tracking, ground balance tracking. So when you do that, you can turn it on and it'll track the ground as you're going along. In the past, you know, people would say if you did that, you'd miss targets because you could miss targets by the time machine reacts to the ground balance. There's a time delay and you could miss a target. I don't think that's the case anymore. These things have gotten pretty advanced, so I wouldn't sweat that. So you can turn it off if you want. If you get a little bit too chatty on the beach, it'll tend to, you know, this might help you a little bit. The one thing I didn't talk about, and that's as far as your sensitivity, I find on the beach that I run mine around 1920. I think you can try to get it up past 21, 22, but I think after that it's a no-go. So if you run this around 18, 19, believe me, you're not losing depth. You're still doing pretty good. But I find that I can usually crank out 20, possibly 21 sometimes. 22, 23 is where it gets real iffy for me. But I tend to find myself in 19 a lot, 19 and 20. So I'm going to lower this down for now to keep this thing from chatting, right? Because it's in my garage. So if we go out of here, go back up to our settings again. So ground balance, you can set that to tracking if you choose, if you want. It's not really necessary, but sometimes you may need it if your beach is giving you some fits. You may want to try that first to see if it quiets down the machine. Now recovery speed, I've never needed to use anything lower than 5. I will tend to use 4 sometimes, but I think 4 or 5, you really can't do any harm with that. The beaches I hunt aren't very polluted, so there's not a lot of targets, so I don't really see the need to go any higher than 5. I've used 4 before with no issues. So 4 or 5 I think is probably the optimal settings for the recovery speed. Discrimination pattern. I hunt in all metal modes, so I don't really tend to use this too much for the beach. For Ferris limits, I do have a 5 and 0 set on that. But I do hunt in all metal mode most of the time on the beach. And that's just how I like to set it up. Now, for the Ferris volume, though, I do set this up to, I crank it up to 18 because I find on the beach it's noisy. Now with the new Killer Bee headphones, I probably don't need it as high anymore, but I like to hear the iron just so I know that I'm probably up against a bottle cap or something that's, I don't want, but I dig everything on the beach anyway, so I don't even know why I even bother. But um, I like to crank my Ferris volume up. That is a preference, totally up to you. You can do that. You can choose that any way you want. It's not going to really impact the machine for you. So if you choose to make it higher, that's up to you. If you choose to turn it down really low, it's up to you as well, but it doesn't impact the machine as far as the performance goes. What I like to use for my beach tones, I'm getting better with the region all tones now. And so on the beach, it's pretty much a dig or no dig situation, but usually it's an all dig situation for me. Um, I have a custom tone setup for this, but I like to use two regional all tones now. And if you go in here, I make my first tone 0 to 1, and I lower the tone of it to, it starts at 0, it ends at 1, the pitch is very, very low, but then the second tone break actually goes up, and it goes all the way up to the top here. So if you edit this, my tone volume is at 25 for tone 1. My tone ends at 1, and my pitch is 25. If I go to the next one, my tone break number 2 starts at number 2. Hopefully you can see that. And the pitch is at 30. But then if you go over, the volume is at 25, it's the max, and the pitch is 50. So you have that big swath in there from 2 to 50, where depending on the type, on how it hits, you're going to get a different sound. But I like it. I really like it a lot. I used it this year, and I really got used to that, and I really enjoyed it. So that's how I set mine up, is a two-tone regional all tones, or two regional all tones. Again, this is strictly up to you, but that's how I do it. Some people will use 5, some people 1, 2. I do like the two regional all tones this year. It spoke to me when I was out on the beach. I just liked it. Oops. Now your audio theme, you can pick whatever you want here. I typically run mine in normal or enhanced. I just like the way enhanced sounds, but it's not really enhanced. Really isn't made to benefit you on the beach, but sometimes people may choose that. If you click that, my profile is medium, and my threshold pitch, if I choose a threshold, it will be at 8. I usually don't use a threshold, but sometimes I will if I feel like I'm not hearing it or the machine's not working right. I'll want to turn it on just so I know the machine's doing something. But I don't typically run a threshold, so it doesn't really matter what you have here unless you do turn on the threshold level. Then your pitch is going to be whatever you make it. You can make it 8 or whatever. But I do like the medium profile. That's what I typically set mine up for. And then multi-IQ, obviously, nothing really new there. And then for the general settings, I do run my Ferris indication on, so the red numbers are on. But I do have soft keys set up. And the one thing I will tell people that they may not, or they may overlook, if you're using the, let's see if I have them anywhere I could show you real quick. I don't have them out here. But the yellow headphones that you get, or you use for the default headphones from Minelab, the underwater headphones, you may want to underwater boost them to give them a higher volume in the earphones, because you'll find that they're going to be pretty quiet or pretty dull. But if you do the boost, turn on the underwater boost, it will enhance the sound of those headphones and make it louder for you. So that's one thing a lot of people don't do or overlook, and I did that several times where I forgot about that feature. So it's just something to remember, that it's there for you. If you need extra boost and volume, you can do that for the Minelab headphones. All right, so then I have a software key set up, and so if you go in here, I actually have my bottom right button, and I did a quick tip video on this, set up to be my favorite mode. So what I typically do is I start out in beach low conductors, and then I will actually go over to beach surf and seawater and make it a favorite. So what happens is when I'm in my program of my choice here, which right now, if we go back down, I'm in beach low conductors right now. But let's say I'm getting closer to the surf line, I want to hunt in the water, instead of like, configuring it, switching over, manually doing it, I just hit the soft key that I set up for favorite mode. And that puts me, if you didn't notice the change, it actually puts me in a different program. It puts me in my favorite program, which is Surf and Seawater. And you can do this vice versa. You could set up Surf and Seawater as your main program and then make Beach Low Conductors your favorite program, and it'll still work the same way. But that quickly gets me over to that Surf and Seawater. And I don't really do anything different in the basic setup of Surf Seawater. So I found it works great just by the standard basic setup. So I don't mess with anything, so there's no sense of me walking through that with you. But that's how I do it. Now, if I want to go back to my low conductor, beach low conductor program, if I'm in here, I just hit the star again, the favorite mode, and now I'm back into my beach low conductors. So I can surf simultaneously from the wet sand, where I'm in 90% of the time, all the way up to the waves and the surf and taking my coil underwater. I can hit that with one button. I'm ready to go. I'm rocking it. So it's really easy to do it that way, and I find it to be very convenient. And I got a cricket in the garage, and Rocky is checking out where that cricket is. Let's see if we can hear it again. Cricket's not going to do it. Anyway, but that's really all I had to show you in this video. I wanted to show you how I have my setup for this Manticore on the beach. Really love the machine. It's a fantastic machine for beach detecting. Highly recommend it. If you're looking for one of these machines, I know who can get them for you. My friends over at Fort Bedford Metal Detectors, all right? So thanks for watching this video today. I really appreciate it. Rocky and I thank you, and we'll see you in another Mental Metal video. Thanks for watching.